Hey, I'm Alesandro, and today I'll be showing you everything you need to know about using a gimbal. Here's everything that I'll be going over in this video. 1. How to assemble. 2. How to balance and calibrate your gimbal. 3. How to use the app. And 4. Some additional tips that I have learned over the years. This is everything you will need to assemble the gimbal. You will need the mini tripod, battery grip, 3-axis head, a camera, the base plate, and the accessory cables. First, you are going to grab the mini tripod and the battery grip and screw them together. Next, grab the 3-axis head, unlock it, and place it on the battery grip. Next, grab the proper accessory cable and connect it to the head. Lastly, grab your camera and base plate and make sure that the arrow on the bottom of the base plate that says lens is facing the front of the camera and screw it in. Now you are ready to learn how to balance and calibrate your gimbal. Now for balancing the gimbal. First, you are going to make sure you set up the gimbal like so by unlocking and locking the axes. Make sure all of the axes are locked unless you are balancing that part. All 3 of the locks on the Ronin-SC are right next to each axis. That is here, here, and here. First, loosen the clamp and place the camera on the gimbal by sliding it in from the back. Now unlock the top axis and hold onto the camera. You are going to now slide the camera back and forward until it stays flat like so. Tighten the base plate clamp for now. Next, you are going to balance your tilt axis. Keep the top axis unlocked, and we are going to want to balance this so that the camera faces straight up without moving. In order to do that, we are going to loosen the screw right here and slide this up and down until the camera stays facing up like so. Tighten the screw when you are done. Now that the tilt axis is balanced, lock it. Now we are going to move on to the roll axis. First, hold the camera and unlock the roll axis. We want this to perfectly center itself. You are going to loosen the clamp screw just a tiny bit so you can push the camera side to side. Slide the camera side to side until you find the point at which it stays centered. Now lock it. Next, we are going to move on to the pan axis. Unlock the pan axis and hold the gimbal at a 15-degree angle or more. Now we want to be able to rotate the camera and place it at any position without it moving. Loosen the screw and move this back and forth until you are able to face the camera in any direction with it staying in place as you can see here. Now tighten the screw and unlock every axis and the camera should stay centered. Congratulations, you have just balanced your gimbal. Now for calibrating the gimbal. You are going to take out your smartphone or tablet and open up the Ronin app. You are going to make sure all of the axes on your gimbal are unlocked and turn on the gimbal by holding the power button, which is located here. Now that the gimbal is on, go to the Ronin app and connect to your gimbal via Bluetooth. Once you are connected, click on Balance Test, follow the instructions on screen. This will test your work on balancing the gimbal. When the test is done, your test results should all say excellent. If one of the axes says otherwise, go back in the video and do that axis again until you get it excellent. Now that the balance test is done, go back and click on motor parameters. Once you are there, you are going to hold onto the gimbal firmly and click on the button that says Auto Tune. This is going to adjust the power and stiffness needed for each axis. Now you are ready to move on to what else you can use the app for. At the top, you have the button to make your gimbal go to sleep, your user profile, and your battery indicator. Right here is the name of your gimbal. Right here you have your create button, which will give you your virtual joystick, auto track, focus mobile, your panorama, time-lapse, track, and game controller. Here's your balance test and your motor parameter. And then you have your user profiles, M1, 2, and 3. This is where you can select the different settings you want, like pan and tilt follow, pan follow, FPV, your custom settings, or your 3D roll and 360. Right here is your status. where you can change all your settings like motor pause, disable gimbal portrait mode, disable gimbal 3D roll, disable selfie mode, and then your demo mode. And then you have your system calibration, your horizontal calibration, and then your gimbal restore. And here's your checklist. That is everything to know about that. Here are some things that I've learned over the years. Tip number 1. First off, if you are not using the gimbal, I would either put it into sleep mode or turn it off. Make sure when it is off or sleeping, I would lock all the axes in position like so. Tip number 2. This has to do with the trigger that is located on the back of the gimbal. This trigger is very useful if you know how to use it. Holding the trigger will keep the camera in the same position so you can make smooth movements, as you can see here. Also, if you double click the trigger, it will bring the camera back to center. If you tap the trigger 3 times, it will turn the camera 180 degrees to do a selfie mode, which can be turned off in the settings if needed. Tip number 3. I know I mentioned connecting the correct accessory cable, but I never told you what they can be used for. The main use for this accessory cable is so you can use the record button right by the joystick. Just make sure you use the correct cable for your camera and make sure that your camera's USB connection setting is set to PC remote. Tip number 4. Lastly, try your best to change all of your settings beforehand and try to minimize how much you touch your camera when the gimbal is on. If you have to adjust the settings, put the gimbal into sleep mode and lock all of the axes to minimize the wear of the gimbal's gears. Also, make sure your camera strap is removed before you start balancing or using the gimbal. Well, I covered everything that you need to know about using a gimbal. If you have any more questions, please leave a comment down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.